Hey, Brittany. All right, thank you very much for your post and for this written description of your experience thus far in the project. Let's go ahead and take a look. Adding some more detail in the background of each circle. I agree. I totally agree with that. I'll talk about that in a second. I'm also wanting to fine tune a lot of the little details. Again, totally agree with you there, especially in the character, like the hair, the face. Yep, you got it. And I am pretty happy with the outcome so far. So am I. I think it's great. Getting hang of shape using objects like tools when it comes to characters. I think it's a little more practice. Hope this layout is easier to follow. Yes, it is. All right. So you're saying that you're getting the hang of starting to illustrate using shapes. That's fantastic. Are you using the Pathfinder palette? That's your friend. That is your friend. The Pathfinder palette is if you're not using it, pick a day in the near future. Give yourself 2 or 3 hours in the Pathfinder palette, and it will change your future as an illustrator. I promise you. I'm telling you the truth. It's if you learn the commands, they're not very intuitive, so it's a little bit difficult at first to wrap your head around the commands with the Pathfinder tool. And I do have a Pathfinder tool tutorial in the course resources. So the Pathfinder will allow you to combine shapes and subtract different portions of different shapes once you combine them. It's a wonderful, for example, right down here, see that 3 circles right here. That thought bubble can be created with the Pathfinder tool by drawing 3 separate circles, selecting them all, and joining them in Illustrator. So again, just the point here is if you're not, you mentioned using shapes, so if you're not using the Pathfinder tool, get with it and you will love it, I promise. All right, so enough of that. Let's go ahead and look at the work. Where is that? There it is. All right, I love it. I think it's great so far. Let me zoom back off here a little bit. All right, I think it's fantastic. I really do. It's a great job so far. I think I agree with you in everything that you've said about the individual characteristics and fine tuning and adding more detail. I totally agree. Little things like even making his ears round instead of, let me zoom in there. I want to zoom in there and see those ears. Actually, no, that's okay. That's a style. Yeah, but you know what? Yeah, we can definitely see this area right here where you've got that variable stroke width through there, adding dimensions, stuff like that. Stuff like that. And I think little areas like even taking the shape away from that, trying to make those more organic. And same thing with the ears a little bit. We're seeing a lot of shape, which is that great. That's fantastic. You're practicing using shape. But right now, I think that I think it would look better. I know it's a style you're going for, and in that respect, I think it's kind of cool. But at this point, I'd like to see more detail and little things like that. Shape those ears out, add pupils, add shadow and highlight, give him a real nose instead of a shape, and give him the whites of his eyes, the pupils, things like that, just little things like that. Some areas like this, the vegetables, maybe give some black stroke in those vegetables that further define. Maybe a small black stroke on the parts of the blue basket, right? I would change the color of the basket only because I would change it to a red color only because blue is a color that's not typically associated with food. So if this is a red basket, it would, or some kind of, maybe it's close to the color of his shirt. Not bright red, but not that dull, right? See what I'm saying? It'll be a more immediately recognizable. Or the other option is to give it an earth tone, like a light tan. That would also indicate that this is a basket immediately. Right now, it takes the viewer a second to go, wait, a blue basket for food? It's just the food. Blue is not a color that's typically associated with food, and that's my only point there. So again, let's go ahead and. Oh, okay, good. Now, anytime you have a chance to give an angle on anything in your illustrations, do it. Because as you can clearly see right now, this angle right here is adding enormous interest. This isn't as interesting, honestly, as it would be as if it were on just a little bit of an angle. I understand the issue here. If you put it on too much of an angle, the viewer might not see that 12 o'clock as 12 o'clock. Speaking of that watch, I would make this more prominent. Make it more playful, too. This seems to be a really kind of super dressy watch for the landscaper. I would give it like the big 12, 3, 6, and 9. You know what I mean? Make it a little more playful, maybe with fatter hands with arrows on the hands, just to duplicate the style more. This seems a little formal for the rest of the style. A little bit of highlight, shadow areas on the leaves, definitely. Um, a neat trick to establish depth is to use just a little horizon line. So try that. And you could use that in each one of these. Just add a little horizon line and maybe give the foreground a different color than the background. I know you said you're still working on color. This frame right here is lacking a little bit in contrast. I'm wondering if it wouldn't help if you were to add just a very small black stroke around the tool itself. So, and then around some of the tools in the toolbox. You see what I'm saying? See how you've got this black stroke on here? See how that's much, much more prominent than the basket? Because simply it's just so much more visible. It adds a little depth. It adds some volume, that little stroke, because it increases the contrast associated with the background. Technically, that's the technical reason why, but it just works visually, right? Detail in the hands, definitely. Yeah, so this area right here, this light bulb is barely visible. When I first opened this, I didn't see the light bulb. It's situated in kind of a precarious area, so maybe increase the contrast associated with that so it's more visible. Other than that, I think really is a fantastic job. One other recommendation is, see, look at the interest, the visual interest here, right through here. And the reason, his hair seems different here. His hair seems bigger in the other ones. It seems, you want to check that. Anyway, this is because he's at a completely different perspective here. We're seeing him at a 3/4 from his left. So let's add some perspective to these instead of just a straight on headshot. Maybe we get a 3/4 or maybe he's looking in a different direction other than directly straight forward. At least in one of these, just add a little bit of visual variety. This is what I'm saying here. Look at the interesting comparison here. Here's a 3/4 from his right and a 3/4 from his left. So that's fantastic. Okay, I think that's all I have. Yeah, I think that's all I have. Try strokes. Try black strokes, and maybe even on the leaves in different areas. It's going to pump the contrast up tremendously. So just be careful that you keep those stroke lines thin. You don't want to add visual weight. You just want to add a little separation between the object and its background. All right. I'm really super pleased right now. I can't wait to see the final here. Everything's coming together absolutely beautifully. So I would have to say you're well on your way to quite a successful project here, Brittany. Good job. If you have any questions at all, please let me know. Thank you.